The familiar saying that is part of the American culture, God helps those who help themselves, is actually not in the Bible, but was promoted by one of the founding fathers of the United States, Benjamin Franklin. It encourages that God's help comes from being independent and self-sufficient. While these things are not bad in themselves, St. Paul teaches the contrary in Corinthians, that God's help comes to us in our reliance on grace. It is in our vulnerability and weakness that we can more readily notice God's love and care for us. It takes courage to be vulnerable. Author Brené Brown, in her book Daring Greatly, writes about how our society needs to move away from isolation and independence to one of community and shared hearts. It's not about oversharing one's story on social media, but about how developing real relationships with one another requires vulnerability, taking the risk to open one's heart to true love and friendship. Opening one's heart to risk love of another person is similar to opening one's heart to God's love. If you have been really hurt by someone or circumstances in life, or hurt by your own seemingly wrong turns or inordinate attachments, it can be hard to be vulnerable and reliant on God's love and strength. You might put a hard shell around yourself to prevent from being hurt again and just feel unworthy of love. It takes courage to let go of that shell and trust that God loves you just as you are and desires your wholeness and healing. There is a real invitation to deeper trust in allowing grace into those messy, vulnerable places of weakness, into places of need. It is here that grace can enter in. And as Henry Nouwen shares, it is here that peace is found. Nouwen writes, because in our weakness, our familiar ways of controlling and manipulating our world are being stripped away, and we are forced to let go from doing much, thinking much, and relying on our self-sufficiency. Right there, where we are most vulnerable, the peace that is not of this world is mysteriously hidden. We know in our heart that our sense of being in control is really an illusion. The real peace of heart comes from placing our trust and grounding and relying on God's strength. We are never alone. God's Spirit dwells in and around us, desiring our love and friendship. I invite you today to pray for the courage to be vulnerable before God in your need, allowing grace to enter in and give you peace. Wishing you a blessed new year full of peace.